Hope everybody's doing great. Good practice today. Obviously, after the last bye week, we didn't play very well. Being intentional in how we work and how we prepare this week, we try to correct some things that we're in control of and continue to get better as a football team. So thought it was good work today. Got to continue that tomorrow. Open it up.
You mentioned that you didn't feel like you all played very well last time.
Yep.
Coming out of the open week, I guess what's the key to having more success this time around?
Yeah, there's multiple reasons for us not executing the way that we needed to on game day. Us controlling what we can control. Point of emphasis is us continuing to get better as a football team, and that's always the case. But certainly pointing those things out yesterday as our guys came into the building and at the end of the day, you're in the middle of your conference season and a lot of football to be played, and we got to take steps to play our best.
Just a quick flashback to Alabama game. You said you didn't get to see Will Brooks get the interception because you're on the iPad. When you had a chance to watch the film back, how many times did you rewatch it? What was it like, I guess, seeing it for the first time like that?
Great to see our defense go finish it out. Obviously, offensively, didn't control it and pick up a first down on the 4-minute drive. For those guys to go out and execute the way they did, apply pressure, and then Brooks to be able to drive on it and make a play at the end of it to seal the game. Huge play by him and playing with fundamentals, technique, and making the plays that are there for him.
During the first bye week, you mentioned a different approach to that first bye compared to what this bye was going to be. Just what is the biggest difference compared to that first week that you guys are looking for this time around?
Again, you're mindful of some of the injuries. Today was a work day, and tomorrow will be too. Fundamentals, technique, special teams, offensively, real point of emphasis. Some subtle things that we're doing differently is to try to get some of that work. But the guys are banged up, get the work that they can while still trying to get them healthy here for a long run on the back end.
Rob on the left here. Coach, as a young player and you having played the position, what kind of growth or how can what Nico did on Saturday jumpstart him just from a confidence standpoint coming through the second half like that?
I think it's tough when you play that position, and that's whether you're young or you've played a lot of football, but certainly when you're young, when things aren't going well, you can hear certain members of the crowd, and you've made some mistakes, which happens in this game when you play that position. You got the ball in your hand every time. You've missed some throws, you've turned it over, you haven't moved the ball, whatever it is. The quarterback takes ownership of all of that. And when it's not going well, and I describe it as it feels like the walls are kind of pressing in on you, to have the courage, the strength, the fortitude to push back on it and go play really good football. Not perfect, but really good football, and find a way to come away with the win. You got to be a tough dude, mentally and physically, to withstand all that. It's one of the real positives that you take away from the game with Nico.
Sticking with Nico, when you looked at on tape the last 2 weeks, you've obviously gotten behind the secondary. You haven't been able to connect as many of those as you want. Is there anything fundamentally that you've seen? Is there anything he needs to be doing differently that you would like to see him do differently on those throws?
There's a couple of things fundamentally. Where you're at on the field dictates some of how you get to throw the ball. Safeties can dictate how you get to throw it. There's a way that you want to throw it. All of that together with, what's going on up front protectionally. There's times that you're not going to be in a perfect position. You got to find a way to complete it. There's a couple of things just with his eyes leading to, where he's at body position wise on a couple of those things. Made some really nice throws too. You look at some of the big plays, Dante down the sideline. That's a special throw on the run to be able to complete. Chris in the end zone on the third down. There's some things that he's got to continue to grow in, but that's all a part of continuing to grow as a player.
Eric and then Reese in the back.
Staying on Nico again, and you've touched on this a little bit, but
I feel like we might be on the subject for a while.
specifically, first half to second half. You mentioned the throw to Thornton and, of course, the touchdown to Brazel. Did you see anything on tape that he might have done different from first half to second half?
I don't think anything like super different. Missed a couple throws over the middle. Some of that's, the windows, being tight and maybe the timing being off just a little bit with the wide receiver getting his eyes around. It's all parties being a part of it. I do think, settling in, being able to push back on everything that hadn't gone right in the first half, shows growth, but shows you what he's made up of on the inside too, mentally and just his heart and competitive makeup.
Coach in the back here, what's the update on Squirrel White's injury?
Yeah, feel like Squirrel will be ready to roll when we get to the next football game. He was limited today. One of those guys that's been dinged up a little bit, but feel like he'll be ready to roll.
The last year or two, we've heard a lot of reflection from recruits that ended up here based off the 22 game. To have another similar type atmosphere the other night, just kind of your thoughts of being able to see kind of the faces of some of those players and how they enjoyed things and all that.
Yeah, big time games, elite environment inside of Neyland, and it's always special. But for some of those rivalry games, it's ratcheted up another notch. I think those are great environments to see the competitive makeup of playing in this league in the big games. Recruits get an opportunity to see how special, playing football on Rocky Top is, what the Neyland effect looks and sounds like, and those are huge pieces of the recruiting puzzle for us.
Josh, there's that old saying that they remember what you do in November. What do you like about your team heading into November? And maybe what were some bullet points you took mentally on Sunday watching the film that maybe you wanted to address as well going into the week?
Yeah, fundamentals, execution, precision in everything that we're doing. Defense played really good football, but there's things that they can clean up too, obviously, offensively. Special teams as well. So you point those things out. And as you've heard me say, good teams continue to get better throughout the course of the season. Every week's its own identity. The takeaway from this football team is they're tough. They got competitive composure. That's all phases of the game. When it's not going well on one side, how the other units are responding. The unit that's not playing well, finding a way to get on the right side of it. For us, there's a lot of football left to be played. It comes down to growing every single day. Being intentional in your work, competing for everything that makes a difference, from fundamentals to technique to eye discipline within the scheme that you're playing in. So we just got to continue to grow.
You've always made a point about the impact that the Tennessee crowd has on the game. You did a minute ago. When you hear the suggestion that some of that's artificial, what's your reaction to that?
I had not heard that. Neyland doesn't need anything fake piped into the stadium for that to be the loudest place in America. Hopefully our fans take that personal and enjoy this bye week and come back, and we'll be louder than ever the next time we're at home.
Whether it ended in a completion or not, there were a number of times the wide receivers beat the coverage, beat the DBs. What have you seen in the wide receivers room continual growth? The
last couple of weeks, they've continued to grow in what they're doing. Chris Brazel's a great example of that. Happens because of, how you practice and how you prepare. And you start stacking days and weeks of performing at a high level on the practice field, and it will translate to the game. And there's still a lot of growth left in that wide receiver room. We've played a bunch of bodies. We need that room to continue to grow. That will be a part of the puzzle of us executing the way that we need to.
Coach, you guys had a pretty good running back to replace when Jalen went to the NFL. Dylan has come in and played at really high levels, almost closing in on the single-season touchdown record. Has he done anything that's surprised you in the way he's played and how durable he's been with the workload you guys have been giving him?
I wouldn't say that anything's truly surprised us. Had great trust in who he is, his competitive makeup, continuing to add to his frame, durability piece. He's a dynamic player, man, and is a part of, changing the way the game's played for us. And, him creating explosive plays has been a part of getting us jump-started when we haven't been necessarily functioning at our highest.
Speaking more from a former quarterback perspective rather than as a coach, is there any advice that you feel has really stuck with Nico that you've been able to give him? Any advice that you have given him about those first half woes that he's had?
Man, it's a position that's never going to be perfect. Ultimately, quarterbacks get judged on wins and losses no matter what it's looking like. Being able to go lay it on the line, play aggressive, play the next play. Those are the biggest things that we continue to talk about with him. And, I'm really proud of what he did in the second half against Alabama.
Josh, you mentioned your defensive performance the other night was elite. Your defensive numbers are obviously extremely good. Why has this defense been so good in sudden change situations? I think you've given up 3 points off turnovers this year. Why has this defense thrived in that world?
Really special what they've done in those situations. A lot of forced turnovers. They found ways to push units the wrong direction and take them out of field goal range or make it a long field goal. I think that, besides just execution, alignment, assignment, technique, the competitive composure, the resiliency, the mental makeup of that group as a whole is really special. And we got to keep that moving forward. We got to continue to grow in it. But it's really special how they've competed and played no matter what the situation is. Competitive maturity is, the best way for me to describe it. Thank you all. Have a great